It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
Then, as of this moment, double secret probation.
Double secret probation, that's what it is. It is the BJ Show. You can find us at bjshow.co. You can find all our videos, and what we do is on bjshow.co, you'll find the audio, which is set up as a podcast. On bjshow.video, you'll find the videos, which are essentially the same thing, but they're just up there as videos. And you can find those anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As soon as I get off the air, I chop up the show. So typically by 8:30, probably 8:45 at the latest, the shows are up there if you want to take a listen to it. And one more time, this show is an actual radio show. We do this show live between 7 and 8 o'clock Central Time. You can stream us. You just go to, once again, you go to bjshow.co. You can go to egbert.com, any of those websites, and you see Egbert's face on there just clicking on his nose, and you will get the stream when it's up. Lately, I've been having some problems with that because I got a computer that Bill Gates keeps telling me that I have to update my Windows 10, otherwise it won't work right? That kind of a deal. Okay.
Conspiracy.
One last thing on my list of things for this today, okay? Over the weekend, I heard someone address this quote, and I've heard this before. People will give up freedom for being taken care of. Now, have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, I have, and it's true, right, Brad?
Well, I find this interesting that let's, for a minute, sort of dissect what we're being told by the two candidates for president. We have Trump saying he's not going to charge taxes on tips. He's not going to put taxes on overtime. We had Kamala who comes out and does the exact same thing with the tips. And, hey, if you vote for me, I'll do this. Hey, if you vote for me, I'll do that. And also interesting, let me bring it back to Elon Musk for a minute, too, which is sort of interesting. I don't know if you heard this latest controversy. Actually, they talked about it on the top of the hour newscast at 7 o'clock. I don't know if you heard that or not, but we'll go back to that. Anyway, the idea being is if the government comes to you and says, hey, you know what, we know you got a gun, and there's that Second Amendment thing. I tell you what, if you give that gun up to us, we'll make sure that once a month you can go to the gas station and get free gas. And you know what? And we'll also get you some coupons at McDonald's where you can get that, that McDouble value meal for $5, even though you can drive through anyway and get it for $5. So, in other words, people will go like, oh, you mean you do that for me if I give up one of my freedoms? Oh, yeah, no problem. Isn't this like the start of communism? Isn't this like how communism sort of works, is that, everybody's like, hey, we'll take care of you. Don't worry about that. And, once again, the whole thing with, you keep hearing this almost every election cycle, not this much, but healthcare. Healthcare should be universal. There should be no one without healthcare. So in other words, how's that going to work? Ask anybody who lives in Canada. Ask anybody who lives in the UK. You hear these stories about people, I'm lucky enough where I can text my doctor. I can text Dr. Kevin Weichert. I can text him right now and say, Kevin, I got a real problem. Can I come in today? And he will normally respond back, or his assistant will respond back and say, Brad, can you be here at 1:45? Okay? Try doing that in Mexico or in Canada or the UK. It don't work.
Yeah. And so to answer your question, Brad, I think it just depends on, as you're raised and as you're taught in government public schools, what is a right and what are you entitled to? So this morning, the literal top link on my website is from KRZG down in Joplin. And Eric Burlison was on there talking about the federal debate of whether or not illegal alien children should be taught in public schools. And the left makes the argument, many on the left make the argument, that students who are here illegally have a right to U.S. public education. Now, that's just absurd, Brad. But it goes to what you just said, and also let's extend it then to healthcare. Since when does every American have a right to the best healthcare? Of course you don't have a right. And then I guess to your original question, Brad, you would gladly give up your Second Amendment rights if you were never taught why the Second Amendment is important. And if you grew up, let's say, where you and I grew up, if you grew up there in 2024, and everywhere you go, people talk about, the reason for crime in this area is because we don't have enough gun control laws, then you would gladly give up your Second Amendment rights for a free meal.
I just got a text from a listener. How the F would you know? Have you lived in Canada? Have you lived in Mexico? As someone who has lived in a socialized medicine country, what you just said is a blatant effing lie. Take it back.
Wow, interesting.
And once again, if you want to text me good, bad, and different things, 314-280-8880. That is literally, John, confirm that's my phone number, right?
Absolutely, it is. I give it away freely.
That's not a burner phone. That is my actual phone that I carry with me, 314-280-8880. You can text me. You don't believe what I'm saying? Once again, but I think I know what country this person is talking about, and it's not Canada, and it's not UK. I don't know about Mexico. Mexico has socialized medicine. I don't really know what they have in Mexico. What do they have down there? Do you know?
They have a few lean-tos in Tijuana. You can just get most of the cure involves actually eating the worm from the bottom of the tequila bottle.
That's the cure. Okay. I heard this this morning, and I thought it was somewhat interesting fact. If you've heard the two teams that have made it to the World Series, is the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers. So the network, whatever network has the games, can't be happier about this because they got two big cities. They essentially have number one population, and isn't Los Angeles number two now?
Yeah, probably number two still. Yeah,
I know there's a fight between Los Angeles and Chicago. Okay, so essentially you have the two largest population centers, East Coast, West Coast. Hey, it's East Coast, West Coast kind of thing. And the interesting part that I found interesting was the New York Yankees have won more World Series than any other team. They are the number one World Series champion. Guess how many World Series they have already?
Oh, man. I know we are a distant second, so I would say they're at 27.
You hit it right on the head, and you already just took my thunder away that the St. Louis Cardinals are second with 11. So
we've been second for a long, and I don't think anybody's close to third, are they?
No, that once you get past, and there's some teams that have never had a World Series win, that have never been to the World Series. I think the San Diego Padres are one of those teams. A lot of people here in St. Louis were cheering for the Padres as they're moving through the playoffs. They made it through first round. They made it through wild card because of Mike Schilt. And that's sort of like
exactly. That's right. And who left because of philosophical differences. Well, he was fired because of philosophical differences.
And Phyllis didn't get along well with Mike.
You know what they should have done, Brad? They should have read your autobiography, and they should have fired him on Christmas Day.
My autobiography is like 3/4 of a page in big print. That's my autobiography. It's not much. But I thought that was interesting that we're like number two. And once again, spoiled fans. All this thing about nobody's going to the games anymore. And, once again, it's to the point where over the weekend, I don't know how this came up. I saw Randy Karraker's post on Facebook, okay? This is Randy Karraker. Now, in full disclosure, I like Randy Karraker, but I don't think he likes me for whatever reason, okay? And what's interesting about it is, once upon a time, Randy Karraker was one of my students at Lindenwood. He was actually in a class I taught out at Lindenwood. Can you believe that? John Combest, he was one of my students.
Wait, cow, he's that old?
Yeah, he's that old. Okay. He's on Facebook essentially saying you should vote for Amendment 2 for sports betting because some of that money will go back to helping keep up the stadiums. And I'm going
good. That's a good cause, Brad. How are you not behind that?
Well, is that spelled out? I'm thinking to myself, once again, you and I have asked the question, okay, why are the sports teams for this? Why are they, all the sports teams? I've heard the ad. If you listen to the Chiefs football games, during the game they run these ads. Vote for Amendment 2. All the sports teams in the state of Missouri, both soccer teams, all Major League Baseball, and the Kansas City Chiefs are all behind Amendment 2. And I keep saying, okay, what's in it for them? What do they get out of this?
Yeah. So to answer your question, Brad, I don't know if there's anything in there that would directly go. That sounds like some Homerism propaganda. Now, you did see over the weekend that the Wizard Ozzie Smith endorsed Amendment 2.
Yes, and I'm going like, what? I think that's a bad move for him. To me that sort of, in my opinion, that tarnishes his reputation. It really does, because of the fact that I'm thinking to myself, okay, Ozzie, you're not hurting for bucks, and especially in light of the fact that Pete Rose just died. Okay, here's a guy, who got thrown out of baseball forever and can't be into the Hall of Fame, and still he has all these incredible records that have never been eclipsed. Oh, we can't have him because, oh my God, he bet on sports, and then, like I told you, the reason for a long time there were no professional sports teams in Las Vegas because they did not want to have the connection between sports and betting. Well, now throw that out the window. We got the Las Vegas Raiders, we've got the Golden Knights, the hockey team. Soon now we have the West Sacramento A's, and until they build their new stadium, I think it's supposed to be like 2 or 3 years. Then there'll be the Las Vegas A's, and wouldn't surprise me if there's ends up an NBA team there. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand. And once again, it's to the point where if I ask questions, and I know you sent that thing out to Jack Cardetti. Did you get a response on that? I got nothing back from him.
No, we haven't heard from Jack. So for folks who are listening, we sent a note to Jack Cardetti from the Pro Amendment 2 campaign on Friday. So it was Friday morning, so we haven't heard back. Hasn't been a full business day yet, but sure.
Well, I mean, the idea being we had Brooke Foster on, who is she's against the Proposition 2, and we're trying to do both sides of the equation. You reached out to him. If he doesn't, you put my number on there, your number on there, so we can call either one of us and set up. But more than happy to have him on, and I will ask him that. Okay. Why is it that the sports teams are for this? And is it true that so the Randy Karraker thing? And of course, me, Mr. SA, what SA is, intelligent.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Intelligent Donkey. Okay, I post on there. I said, what they should do is they should put a $10 surcharge on each sports ticket, and that $10 would be set aside for improvements to the stadiums and maybe building new stadiums, as opposed to getting taxpayers. Remember this crap that came out earlier this year where the Cardinals was saying, our stadium is almost 20 years old and we need improvements. We need the taxpayers to help them. You know what I say? F you, the Cardinals. I mean, stop charging. How much is a beer at the Cardinals game?
$204 before tax.
A hot dog you make payments on. You have to I'm going like you guys are losing money. Once again, I heard the statistic the other day that they bought the Cardinals from Anheuser-Busch and they paid, I don't know, $120 million or something like that. The franchise is now worth over $2 billion. And especially, once again, it refreshes my memory that it's the second most winningest team as far as World Series wins, second behind the Yankees. Okay, what city? Let's say we got the deal where Elon Musk is in Austin. One day Elon Musk wakes up and says, "You know what? Austin needs a baseball team. Let's go after those Cardinals." And he calls up the DeWitt family and says, "You know what? I paid $45 billion for X, and it's Twitter, it's now X. You know what? I'll pay half that amount for the Cardinals. I'll pay you $22.5 billion for the Cardinals." The Cardinals would be gone. There would be like a vapor trail to Austin, Texas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, a couple things. So first of all, that wouldn't happen because St. Louis is in the middle of a renaissance. And you might not have read some of the headlines lately, but St. Louis is in the middle of a renaissance. You ask about Ozzie Smith. Now, I have quite a place in my heart for Ozzie Smith. But when you talk about him loaning his name to things, he's got, like, he lent his name to the blood, the blood plasma thing. Are you up on this? Like, his name is on the blood plasma, like, regenerative center or whatever they call that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well,
so I mean, athletes license their name to a lot of things, and I'm sure he's not hurting for money. But it's not like this is the first time Ozzie Smith has been approached by somebody that said, "Hey, can we use your name for something?" You get what I'm saying.
Well, so you're telling me he would let people use his name for money? Let's say the Sauget family called him up and say, "Hey, we've got this negative connotation of the city of Sauget. We want to call it Ozzie Smithville, and we'll pay you $100 million, Ozzie. Is that good?" Yes. Hey, come on over to Ozzie Smithville, where you can go to the Oz, and you go to Pops, and you go to PTs. It's all at Ozzie Smithville. So you think he'd do that for $100 million?
No, because I think it was a 40-year deal that Gary Templeton signed. So Gary Templeton has right of first refusal for anything in Sauget. So even after he was traded to the Padres for Ozzie Smith, Gary has retained, and Gary has in fact lived off that money since then.
One of the things in life that has always turned me off about people and organizations is people crying poor who are loaded. You know what I'm saying? I have a particular friend or two of mine who is very, 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 very rich. And you talk to them, you think they're down to the last dollar. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can afford a new tire in my car. They could go buy a tire manufacturing company and manufacture their own tires. You know what I'm saying?
But don't you think some of that is to try to gain solidarity with people? So they don't want to seem like a rich a-hole. So they complain about stuff so that most people would be like, oh, so-and-so's just like us. It's hard for them to buy tires, too. They might have to move some money around before they'll get those 4 Goodyear at Dobbs.
No, it's being a cheap donkey. That's what it is. It's just to the point where, see, once again, and the thing like with Randy Karraker, I get it. He's the guy over at ESPN or ESPN 101. Oh, we have to, I'm thinking to myself, think about this for a minute, okay? And, this should be something that you and I should dedicate a whole thing to. Why should the people in the county, in St. Louis County, and in St. Charles County, and in Jefferson County, and in Monroe, and Franklin, and Clinton, and Madison, why should they go to watch soccer when it's called St. Louis City? Uninclusive. Hey, we're the city team. Okay, fine.
That's
good.
True.
Good. You draw your fans from the 250,000 people left in the city. The people who are not in the city, we're saying we're not going to your stupid games because you name yourself St. Louis City. Okay? Stupid.
I don't know. I mean, I wish that you would apply that to Veta Sports off of Mid-Rivers Mall in Ohms because they have Cottleville City. You see everybody around town driving in their golf carts wearing Cottleville City stuff. Right, I went to the Ozzie Smith Regenerative Center website. Do you know you could get something there called the vampire facial?
Well, there's also, and why do I know this? Because it keeps coming up on my Facebook feeds. There's an ad for vampire breast lifts. Now, what is a vampire breast lift? Does like a vampire?
I don't know, but I mean, it definitely involves a little bit of, you know what I'm saying?
Does a vampire bite you instead of on the neck on your boobs, and they?
Oh wow, boy, we don't have to get graphic here, Brad. I mean, your cup runneth over. Your cups runneth over with metaphors.
Yeah, it's the double D cup. Okay, say goodbye, John.
See you guys tomorrow.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling: A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?